charges of treasonous activities. The man had been flogged publicly. "Truly," Sandy said, and now there was no laughter in his grey eyes. "Do thank her, Matthew. I know it costs her in fears." With that he was off, taking the lead as the three ministers made for the depths of the moor. Not until they dropped out of sight did Matthew set off for home. "Where have you been?" Matthew started when his brother-in-law popped up to block his path. "Out." "I gather that." Simon Melville frowned, taking in the sword and pistol, the long cloak that was now bundled over an arm. "This is no game." "Never mind," Simon gestured in the direction of the yard. "You have visitors." "Visitors? At this hour?" "Oh, don't worry," Simon said with a certain edge. "They're not soldiers here to drag you off for questioning. Not this time. It's your ex-wife, no less." "Margaret?" Matthew came to a halt. "What might she be doing here?" "I have no idea. Maybe she's hankering for the long morning walks over the foggy moor." "I'm doing what I must, Simon. You know that." "What you must? You're helping them break the law. They've been ousted as ministers. They're not allowed to preach or teach. They may not perform any types of rites, and to aid them and abet them is to risk the full displeasure of the powers that be." Matthew just shrugged. "Oh well," Simon sighed. "You'll do as you please." "Aye." Simon threw him a sidelong look. "She brought Ian with her." "Ian?" Matthew increased his pace. "She's in the yard. I don't think Alex intends to invite her inside, and even if she did, I doubt Margaret would enter. She insists she'll wait outside until she can talk with you." Simon's face broke out in a wide grin. "I don't think she helped herself by reminding Alex that any decisions are yours to take anyway. So why waste breath telling Alex what she will then have to repeat to you?" "Nay," Matthew said, smiling faintly. "I reckon Alex didn't like that." The two women turned towards them when they entered the yard, of similar height and colouring, with dark, well-defined brows, high cheekbones, and shapely necks. At a distance they could be taken for sisters, but where Margaret was all willowy grace, Alex was rounder of breasts and hips, assets presently accentuated by her very trim waist. She must have tightened the stays a notch or two before going out to receive their visitors. He studied his wife, silent, arms crossed over her chest and dark blue eyes never leaving Margaret or the half-grown lad beside her. Alex looked icily impressive and displeased. With an inward sigh, Matthew went over to greet his guests. Alex watched Matthew come towards them, long legs striding at such speed Simon was jogging to keep up. She gave her husband a thoughtful look. Yet another morning, waking to an empty bed. She had a pretty good idea of what he'd been doing. It was a constant source of contention between them, his insistence that he had to help his brethren, her loud protests that it might come at too high a price. Bloody stubborn man. She gnawed at her lip and frowned. Having Margaret show up with Ian in tow hadn't exactly improved her mood, nor did the fact that Margaret, as always, looked gorgeous. No practical skirts in brown for Margaret, oh no. Dear Margaret sported a gown in a vibrant blue that complemented her eyes. Her neckline was adorned by Brussels lace, and on her head she wore a rakish hat of the same hue as her dress, with glistening black hair falling in arranged ringlets well down her back. Long riding gloves in soft red leather complemented the outfit, although on a day as hot as this Alex suspected they were quite uncomfortable to wear. "Mama," Mark tugged at her skirts. "Who's that?" Alex smiled and brushed his hair back from his brow. Nearly 6, Mark was normally his father's shadow, but the tension in the air had made him gravitate towards his mother, with his 2 siblings in tow. "That's your cousin, Ian." She was convinced Mark had forgotten the events surrounding the last time he'd seen his cousin, almost 2 years ago. But from the wary look in Ian's eyes she could see that he had not, and nor had any of the adults presently in the yard. Not that she blamed them. 2 grown men, brothers, fighting with deadly intent until their respective wives managed to step between them. "He's my son," Matthew had said on that occasion, pointing at the then 9-year-old Ian.